The seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, here we go. It is P.M.P. It's in the back of our official Champions League exit, our official exit from European football. It is only the 2nd of November. It's a bit disappointing overall. And your eyes aren't lying. I still dye my hair in the house sometimes. I'm moan when I'm bored. But tonight it's all about the exit. It is the gauge the process show, you could call this, because we've now been told to trust the process for nearly 18 months. I think it's fair after 2 group campaigns now. One in, obviously, the Champions League this season, a big step up. I think we can gauge it. We now know what our points tally was. We know what our goal difference was. We know how many chances we missed. We know, where we're at right now. And I think there's loads of different ways we can look at this. Loads of different ways we can look at it. And I'm ready to discuss them all on post-match press, because that is what we do. Terry Robb, the face of P.M.P, joins us. How are you, Terry? That face of yours doesn't look all that enthused, mate. You all right?
Jaws tripped me. It's just the same as it has been on all of these sort of Champions League nights, Boise. I thought tonight's performance just encapsulated our whole campaign, where we put so much into it. We were brave, we were naive, in as much as we were brave. You can take that either way. You were either brave or you were naive, or you were both. We created so many chances, took so few of them, and I suppose the one thing that we were kind of missing from this campaign was a little bit of a doing, and we got that tonight.
We did. Phil, it's the first doing of the group. So again, whilst there's disappointment in the air, the last few times we've been in the Champions League, I was talking about this this morning, when you look at the 2 seasons under Rodgers, we were on the wrong end of a couple of right bad doings. Yeah. Lennon's year after his Barcelona miracle, we were on the wrong side of a doing then, I'm pretty sure, as well, with Van Dijk at the back and Denier.
Right. So 6-1 at the new camp. Yep.
So we got one doing tonight. Now, let's cast our minds back. We played Real Madrid, match day 1. Let's talk about where we were at then as a group, because we could talk about 5 goals scored by Real Madrid at long, in depth. I don't really get the benefit of that tonight, lads. They did what we know they can do. They did exactly. They put us to the sword, and they've got players that have been doing this year in, year out. You look at for energy levels in your midfield, they go with Kroos and Modric, a combined age of 70, 71. And fucking hell, wow, just a masterclass in crisp passing. Always been available, always been in 10 yards of space. I don't think anyone's press can stop those two. It doesn't matter. They don't even seem feel like they run. They just walk. They just strut about in space. I don't know. You think it'd be easy to mark these guys, but anyway, enough of Real Madrid and how amazing they are, because we played them in the first game. Now, when the draw was made, lads, we looked at this draw. We were full of hope, full of optimism. This was a group, a Celtic team we watched, not completely, the finished article by any way, shape or form, but we'd watched a Celtic team come of age and wrestle that title back and, do it on an unbelievable, unbeaten run domestically, albeit the Scottish Cup, we went out narrowly in extra time and things, but in the league, we were unbeaten up until just St Mirren a couple of weeks ago. So the team, it felt, had came of age slightly. We reinforced the squad in the summer. I questioned some of the recruitment, particularly when a certain midfielder started today, and this is not a hate campaign on him before we get started on that. My biggest worry it wasn't because it was him, it was because, fucking no Aaron Moy. I felt it was an underwhelming signing, though, ahead of going into it. Do we know how difficult this competition is going to be? Do we know the step up in competition we're going to be playing? But that said, I felt the squad was in a good place, and I felt we might catch this group cold, and I thought we were going into this first game, Terry, against Real Madrid at Celtic Park, going, they might be aging a bit. We're playing at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and we might be able to do something here. Ultimately, I would say that opening 40 minutes, I think I would say, against Real Madrid was something I'm not convinced we completely built on over the group. I think when you look at that 40 minutes, you gave Celtic credit because Real Madrid just eventually turned the screw. We missed opportunities we should have scored, and we were unlucky with moments like Callum McGregor's post rebound that narrowly went like almost across the line. Then we put in a display, very encouraging, I would say, away from home against Shakhtar. But we don't get the result again. We don't take our chances. I mean, actually, the only goal we got was an OG in the end. Then we've got the Leipzig thing where reality really started to bite that double header. And I think the hope was maybe zapped out us. Then we don't beat Shakhtar at home, a team that I think we should be able to beat at home. And tonight we round up, finishing the group, Terry, with 2 points. A goal difference, I think, what was our goal difference, Phil? Was it -11?
I think it's -11.
-11, I'm sure it was. -11, no wins, which, again, I mean, for those bothered about revenue and needing more money in the bank, that's a huge blow. But no wins from 6, Terry. See, when you look at the optics of Celtic with their worst ever Champions League group stage campaign so far, where are you sitting with the process that we're all told, I think at times, just almost patronisingly to trust? I don't think that's fair. I think we should always be allowed to judge throughout that time. That's what we do as football fans. We watch things in real time. Where are you sitting with it all, Terry, my man?
I'm disappointed with the points tally. I thought we'd have come out of that group with more than 2. I thought we would have at least beat Shakhtar at home, and I would have been hopeful of getting at least a draw at home against Leipzig. They changed their manager at a kind of bad time for us after they'd already played Shakhtar and just before they played us, and he's made a massive change in their fortunes. In terms of where I sit with the process, I'm slightly disappointed with how we've come out of the group. I suppose my initial reaction now is, okay, what we're being led to understand now is that we need to get into this competition every year and start to build from where we're at. And I totally get that. I suppose where I'm at is, okay, let's get into it again next year and let's see what we do next year. But if we don't build on it next year, then, we're following the process, but the process won't have worked if we're not stronger next year. My main concern about next year already, and I do think we'll be in it next year. My main concern, though, is we'd be very lucky to get as favourable a group again next year. Yeah. You're probably looking at a team of the standard of Madrid and maybe even a team better than Leipzig, or 2 teams at the level of Leipzig. That's what you're looking at in most of most of the groups. There are a few that where that's not the case. But I think the group we were in, you couldn't really have wished for better than that. And law of averages says next year it's going to be a tougher task. And again, I'll be interested to see what the signing policy looks like in January, what the signing policy looks like in the summer. I mean, how do we go from where we're at to where we perceive that we want to be? Is it a case of bringing in more of the same type of players? Is it a case of bringing in upgrades in certain positions? I mean, tonight, I'm not massive for stats, but we had 8 shots on target tonight. And over all of the games that were played last night and the other game that was completed this evening, no team had more than that except for Real Madrid. They had 9 attempts against us. We'd 8 attempts on target.
I didn't need to know that.
It's quite easy to know what we need to do. We need to score more of those attempts, and we need to concede less at the other end. We 9 attempts against us, and we conceded 5 of those. We had 8 attempts on target for us, and we scored 1 of those. And it doesn't take any sort of stats genius to work out what you need to do. It's how do you do that? Do you then have to curb the emphasis on the attacking side of things to try and nullify the amount of chances that you're conceding at the other end? How do you address that balance? It's great creating all of those chances. We need to be taking a higher percentage, and that goals make games. And we even tonight when we got our chance, we didn't take it. We missed a penalty, and it wasn't going to make any difference to the result, but it would have gave us something to sort of feed on, something to get the positivity going at half time, and something to come out and give it a real bash in the second half.
Yeah, Phil, ultimately it is disappointment. I think, I know, it's easy to now revert to, we finished, we were the bottom seeds, we finished where we were meant to finish. I think I agree with Terry. I think that group was favourable, right? I think it was a favourable group. One of the things as well is they were talking on the TV tonight. Sutton was and McManaman were talking in different conversations, obviously, about naivety. Sutton then kind of was, as the final whistle was approaching, sort of softening that sort of into, but I really like what he's doing. I like the way this is. And I suppose that's okay. Steve McManaman was more, not that his words all that. But he was sort of saying, look, I don't know how they're going to get results, at this level when you are that open. If you're going to play that open, we would need to have took out all 8 of our efforts on goal. Do you know what I mean? To get a positive result tonight, because you can't help but feel we do leave ourselves open. And Ange needs to be backed if this is the process we're to trust. And if we're going to trust going into European Champions League matches with a style of play that I think is brilliant on the eye, I think fits into a lot of the club's ethos, the Celtic way and all that, but isn't played with much measure in terms, but that could be down to the quality of player.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, Phil, how many players did we bring in this summer with a guaranteed Champions League pot of gold, if you want to call it that, with them knowing what the accounts were? We didn't at the time, but the accounts were going to be looking very, very healthy. With all that in mind, how many players did Ange actually sign? And I don't know if this is on him or on the recruitment team or on Celtic's tightness. I don't know. But how many did we actually sign in the summer to improve on the first 11 that finished the campaign 20 to 21? 21 to 22.
It was one of the things I think that was thrown at us a few times by some of our, Rangers supporting people in the chat, like Bob McBob. But you have literally got the same team that have lost to Bodo Glimt, essentially, in the third tier of European football back in February. In terms of the players we brought in that were new to it, see Aaron Moyes and stuff like guys were only going to be bit part players. We brought in, obviously, we pushed the boy to get Jordan Carter Vickers, and that's fantastic that we did. But we didn't. They were here last season and they were part of what, went wrong in terms of Europe. But that being said, when you look at what happened in the two campaigns that he's had so far, you said at the top of the show about trusting the process. We've had 2 campaigns under Ange in 2 different competitions. Can we gauge the process? And I think the word that comes to mind right now is ruthless. We've seen how ruthless the Champions League is, because last year in the Europa League, yeah, we had our naive moments. Yeah, we conceded some stupid goals, but we scored a fair amount of goals as well. And it just shows you at this level in the Champions League, if you're not taking those chances, my God, they will punish you. They really will. Even your Shakhtar Donetsk and stuff, the team that we thought were the favourable ones in the group to beat, even they took their chances against us when they came up. And yeah, when you're looking at the two campaigns side by side, Europa to Champions League, yeah, it's a massive learning curve in terms of we've got to start taking these chances. We made more than enough chances to win so many games. Geez, we've probably made enough chances to win the competition over the group. It was ridiculous. I'd be surprised if the team that goes on and wins the tournament has as many chances as we've made. Honestly, that's it.
Aye, true.
So, in terms of defensively, we've probably got a similar defensive record to what we saw last year in the Europa League. But what's let us down is in front of goal. We've frozen at times in front of goal, and it's how do you remedy that? And we're talking about the process and stuff like that. See if we have a big personnel change in the summer, like new players coming in, a few go out, more come in. I think I said this before on the show. Does the process restart again because we get in new players? What happens there? Because if we keep this core of players together for a good few years in modern day football, that's quite doubtful. Then maybe they can learn and grow from it. But we've got to be realistic here. There's a chance that we lose some and then we bring in new ones and the process starts again, essentially.
Well, I think it's been very strange when you actually look at the contrast and things Ange says and that Celtic do. Mm-hmm. Now, Ange is basically saying in the build-up to the game this week, and I liked what he said, we need to be at this competition every year. We can't just accept going into it once every 4 or 5 years. I know Dermot Celtic Rabito is saying there that it's our first group out in 10 years, but it's not. I mean, we're in the Champions League twice under Brendan Rodgers, which was only 5 years ago and 6 years ago. But the point Ange was making was we need to qualify for it every year now. I think unless we've got automatic group berth for winning the league, we won't get that. But that's a two-way street. Because you need to be able to build up the coefficient when you're in Europe's Premier competition, which unfortunately neither of the clubs that have been in it from Scotland have been able whatsoever to do. They have not improved in that coefficient. We will get the automatic spot for winning the league this year. This year now becomes almost, for me, the same sort of pressure on us, albeit I'm more confident at this stage, that, to win the league, we need that for that 40 million guaranteed, right? Yep. Because I don't know if we'll make it through that playoff round. We've not over the last 12 years. Yeah. But if I'm just wanting us to be in there each year, how do we achieve that when we can't pick up any coefficient points when we are there? That's the problem. And, right now we're in a situation where, as of tomorrow night when Hearts play, that's the groups all done. All Scottish teams are out of Europe and there's no more coefficient points to add. It looks like we're going to tumble right back down it again. So, Phil, if you want us to be in there year on year, then you have to strengthen, and I'm not saying wholesale crazy spending, but you have to strengthen your first 11 year on year and be consistent there too. You don't just get a free pass, a free invite to the Champions League, particularly not if you're a Scottish team. It had been the first time the winners of the league qualified straight into the group stage in 12 years. So that ain't a path that we can rely on. Being consistent. Yep. We get into the Champions League. We don't strengthen the first 11. Who was the new signings that started tonight? Jens, who's basically starting due to injury because he's the third choice centre back when you think about it. Even Ange himself admitted in a press conference maybe about a month ago, he feels that Jens is playing more football than he thought at this point already. Because again, that's just due to circumstances. So Ange firmly seen him as the third choice as well. So when we're looking at that, the proofs in the pudding. I mean, Moy started tonight, his first start of the Champions League campaign. There's a lot of people now talking about favourites in the squad and things. I've got to be honest, I don't understand it, where he's getting the nods from. But I'm not going to focus just all on him. But it is a personal opinion I've got that guy's not going to cut it. And I'm a wee bit deflated and I'm underwhelmed that he is starting because there isn't, in Angie's mind, putting the favouritism thing to one side that people are talking about. I mean, we've got to have had a better option than that was brought in the summer. The summer window, Terry, we knew our fate from May. Yet we were signing free transfers, loan signings in the final week of the window. None of them started. I just think if we're going to match this guy's ambition that he's talking about publicly in the media, which is we need to be at this tournament year on year, then that action to do so has to be continuous as well. And I also think that comes with pressure from our supporters when, rather than just all having favourites, like that whole first 11 last year was everyone's favourite player ever. Every single one had a song. And the club love that. They're so aware of social media. It's unreal. So if they think they can get away with not improving the squad with hard dollar and not thinking the fans will be on their back, they've got form for doing that. So we need to now be looking at it and going, well, there is the evidence. What we've got isn't enough for a tournament that Postecoglou has said it's his goal to be in year on year. Over to you, Celtic. Will they match his ambitions? And this is what he was saying this week, by the way, in the pre-match presser.
Yeah, I might be wrong on this, but I don't even know if we actually had our strongest team from last year in any of these Champions League games. Our top centre back partnership, Starfelt and Carter Vickers, did they play together? Did they play together in any of these 6 matches? I'm not convinced they did.
Starfelt went off injured against Rangers, and that was right before the Real Madrid game.
Madrid match.
So
he hasn't kind of been back.
Great point.
So not only did none of the players that we brought in over the summer actually strengthen our first 11 for the Champions League, we didn't even have our strongest team from last year in any of those games. Our first choice centre half partnership. I mean, tonight we're probably without our most two influential players, our captain and our vice captain. I think that kind of shows you we're stretched whenever we lose Carter Vickers, whenever we lose Callum McGregor, we are stretched. And some of the guys that have been signed during the summer, just for me, they haven't cut it, and they're unlikely to cut it. And I wouldn't, I'm not focusing on Moy. I mean, I just don't get the Abelgard signing. I just don't understand that whatsoever. What was the point of that signing to bring in somebody who comes on every couple of weeks for 5 minutes? I just don't understand.
We didn't need more players like that, Terry. That's what
we already had a James McCarthy. We already had Ideguchi there. We had Near Beaton there, and we let him go. I just don't understand. Now, don't get me wrong. Hopefully, the guy, I don't know. Hopefully, he starts to show something, and he makes me look foolish. But I just don't see it. I just think he's one of those signings just for the sake of it. He's certainly not an improvement on the first 11. I'll be looking for the same as what I was looking for last year. I'm looking for 2, 3, 4 players who come in that the minute they sign, they're first team players.
Green chip signings, if you will, Terry. Green chip signings. I don't want to call them blue chip signings, but I do think that's what we're needing as well. I mean, I was totally on board when you said that in the summer, and we discussed it at length. Going, we kind of did the bulk buying under Ange, and we did it kind of supermarket sweep-esque. Because a lot of them are arriving late because Ange had less time, and kudos to him putting that squad together. This summer around, with your whole path laid out, Phil, all your destinies in front of you, what did that team need? It didn't need bulked up. The squad didn't need more squad players. Nope. The squad needed first team guys to go in and be better than what we have. And like I always say, that's the only way to evolve. You can't be emotionally drawn by this. You can't go, will he trust Maeda? Doesn't matter. Doesn't mean there's not a better winger out there than him that we could have brought in. And that's just an example, by the way.
Aye.
Joe Hart had a great season. He was a huge role model. It doesn't mean we couldn't improve on him in goals, for example. These are things to keep this squad evolving, keep Celtic evolving. And I am now, as I say, comparing it with Postecoglou's actual quotes, and I'm seeing chalk and cheese, because actually what he's saying doesn't stand up based on how Celtic as a club, and like I said, I don't know who to foot the blame for the recruitment in the summer, but it doesn't add up for a guy who's saying, I want to be in the Champions League year on year. I want Celtic, I should say, in the Champions League year on year. And I appreciate there's people coming in saying, Hacks on Abelgard are not up to speed. It's too early to judge Abelgard. But that's the whole point. We had all summer. It didn't need to be them if they weren't going to get up to speed. The Champions League campaign, guys, newsflash, is gone. Whilst players that are coming in, that are international players, according to you, are not up to speed. That's not a Champions League mentality. That's what worries me, Phil, that this is their final crack at it this season, because next year it'll be qualifiers all over again, and we'll be back doing what we were doing between 2010 to 2020 and qualifying a handful of times by hook or by crook.
I think this coming, next season, you get the automatic one. Then, after that, we're back to the, don't know how many qualifiers it's going to be. So the coefficient's going to take a hammering for the way the Scottish team performed this year. And also, we're on the horizon now is the new Champions League format where you get 10 guaranteed games. Of course, we would end up going back to a qualifying scenario just in time for that, wouldn't we? So, that would just be typical of us. But regarding the signings, like we were talking about Abelgard and Haksabanovic, obviously I see what people are saying about, they weren't up to speed, but I think that's a bit of, I don't think the club's done much due diligence in that case then, because it was quite obvious the situation that was going on with a lot of players based in Russia. Some players with suspended contracts, guys refused to play. We talked with Jordan Larson at great length. He literally told Spartak Moscow he wanted out of his contract because he didn't want to be associated with a Russian club. So we've went in there and we've managed to, pillage Rubin Kazan for these players. And at first, that's great business, but then they come in Abelgard's case, it looks like he's not fit because he hasn't played that much football. Remember during the summer, what was the one thing as the summer was going on that everyone kept saying, what's the one last thing that this team needs? It's the final piece of the puzzle. It would be like a big combative defensive midfielder. And we signed Abelgard at the very end of the window, and you're like, okay, that's it. That's what we needed. And he's barely played. He's just been coming on here and there sparingly. And it also seems that Ange's philosophy is more, I'm more all about just passing it really quickly around them rather than having a big physical brute. So then you wonder, well, what was the point in then bringing in Abelgard? If one, you're not going to play him, and
bringing
two,
a belt
he
to
kind of goes against your ethos. He just became a squad player, like you were saying. That's all he's become now. Just sits on the bench, has a wee occasional cameo here and there. So I don't know. I do think a bit of due diligence could have been done a bit better when it came to going and pillaging the Russian market, because it's quite obvious what's going on with players there. So
it's interesting, Phil, because Rooster comes in, and good to have you on the bus, and all other 241 of you watching live right now. Remember to hit like, subscribe, share, all that carry on. Rooster says you're describing a 5-year plan, Boise. So many people are expecting year 5 of Ange to happen in year 2, which is unrealistic. No. What I'm describing in the 5 years, right, it's a moving project. It's going to move all the time, because what we're realizing now is if we're not prepared to invest when we've got guaranteed funds from the Champions League, whether it be 30 million, 40 million, I couldn't get monkeys anymore. That seems to be, that'll be at 5 million by the time Rangers season's finished. But see, the thing is, with this 5-year plan, we might not get that access to the Champions League during it. So we had to start the progression and the most speculative approach, the more ambitious approach. We had to begin that the summer that's just been. That's proven in the results. It's proven in the players not getting in the team that were signed in the summer. The facts are now there. This is why we're gauging the process now, Terry, because these are undeniable parts that whatever they did in the summer, they didn't do it for the Champions League. So therefore, how are we going to be in the Champions League year on year unless that mindset changes? Ange wants to change the mindset of the players. I love that. That can't happen overnight. However, one thing that could happen come January is more of an effort to bring in players to improve the first 11 that has been assembled by Postecoglou.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think this window where the Premier League winners are going straight into the group stage, this is the opportunity to go out and, as you say, speculate without the risk of not making it through. Yeah. With the qualifiers, the rhetoric we could kind of become accustomed to is, we're not guaranteed that Champions League money. We can't go out and spend money, which we then don't then have. We knew going into this summer we had those funds. If we win the league this year, we're going to be in the same position. And as we've sort of discussed there, this could be the last chance where we're guaranteed that entry to the Champions League for a while, and therefore possibly the last chance to really go and speculate without that level of risk that we've talked about.
Yeah, well, definitely. And I know Pegleg Lonergan's having a wee bit of fun in the comments. He's saying Champions League ready players must be bought. No one's saying Champions League level or anything, but we're saying, do we have players in the team that can be improved on? Well, there won't be one summer for the rest of me supporting Celtic, the rest of my life, where we can't improve on our first team. I'm not convinced we did that in the summer there, yet the known knowns were all there because we already had qualified. So it put to bed the argument we've been fed for a previous decade, Phil, that, oh, well, we couldn't spend because we didn't know if we'd qualify or not, and then we could have been in loads of debt, then we'd go bust, which is just how people arrive at that. I will never understand at that conclusion. We're always going to go bust. There is such a middle ground where Celtic could be going up the rung of quality in terms of talent that they're bringing to the club. And right now, we haven't seen it. The results prove it. It has been a disappointing campaign. But that's one side of it. Let's talk about the manager's philosophy now. I like so many aspects of what I'm seeing. Is it, though, going to be feasible to see him do this again, Phil? Are we to be in the Champions League? Which I think we will. If we play that same style, hopefully it'll be with improved players, of course, which will make it a wee bit easier. But if we are playing that same style, are you expecting to see much of a difference in terms of results? Are you expecting to see us get a third place in Europe beyond Christmas in a Europa League? Or do you think right now the gap is so big, apparently, that if we're playing this style that Ange is, unfortunately, it's the right style, not the wrong club, it's the right club, but we're playing
competition.
We play wrong competition, maybe. But it's I worry. I mean, I don't want to jump the gun with it all, and I know he isn't going to change it anyway. But do you really see that style of play? Do you think it will bring results at Champions League level at some point?
Of course, it's all we can only speculate, and it's all like we don't know who's going to be signed and stuff, but I am hopeful. I can see progress in terms of we did, I think it was you, me, and David did TNF a few weeks ago after, I think it was the second Leipzig game at home. And I think I said that, David said that and all, where I'm on board with how he's trying to take the game to these teams. And I think at times a lot of just the individual mistakes have let us down from certain players. Because it's for some reason we've just frozen in front of goal, but strangely domestically as well we've had that. But you can get away with it domestically. If we miss a few chances against a Motherwell or a St Johnstone or something, well, another chance is going to come. But at this level, if you squander one or two chances, you've got to just make sure you always take them because you never know when the next one will come up. Incredibly though, we have, as I say, made loads of chances, but I can see us improving, and I think third place and even qualification is into the next round is possible, just providing on who we bring in. But also, as Terry said earlier on, the unknown X factor, and it says, what's our group going to be like the next time? You don't know. Again, we don't know. But if we were to get a group of that level again and play that way again, I can't see lightning striking twice where we just have all this shocking luck in front of goal. Surely it can't happen to us again. So we're definitely. I think we're right to have a go in the way that we're doing it, instead of sitting back and just inviting pressure on us. Because if we did, the scores could even be even worse over all those games there. We were talking about 5-1 tonight. It could have been even more if we just sat back all night and just let them attack us. So I think we're right to what we're doing. So I can see what Ange is trying to achieve. But at the moment, it's still all up in the air. So it depends who comes in, and a lot of unknown quantity, a lot of unknown variables right now that we need to wait and see in 6-7 months' time,
I agree. Brilliant point there, Kieran. Where are you this time, Terry? I don't even know.
I'm in the living room this time.
In the living room. Everyone looks out for what's in the background of Terry's, but you just never quite know what you're going to get, mate. There was a great point by David, and I think what he's actually done is capture, David Kelly, the mood of the fans, the two camps. And we're playing devil's advocate with a lot of it because I can't deny, I think there's loads of it. I go, you get that wee bit of excitement that first 5 minutes and you go, we're fucking taking it to them. We're taking a look at the press. That's to be admired. And it's great to watch. But is it also naive, verging on arrogant, to think we can do that with the players at our disposal until, if this is a 5-year plan, we've got better players? Or is it very much, Ange thinks you've got to play this way and I'll keep improving the squad? Because we would then need to have better windows, and I've ranted about that enough already. Terry, there is two camps right now, isn't there? I think David's kind of got them both there in that one wee message.
I think what we need to be clear about is we didn't catch any breaks in this entire campaign at all. Everything that could have went wrong. All of those chances, as Phil says, we probably had enough chances to win the competition, and it seemed to be just every time a team attacked us, they scored. Even tonight, I mean, yeah, we started first 5 minutes. We took the game to them, and you're sitting there going, actually, do you know what? This could go okay here, and then you get a dubious penalty at best, and you start to recover from that, and you get hit with another one. I don't want to bring luck into it, but we haven't caught a break at all in any of these matches whatsoever.
Yeah.
Really haven't. And I know we kind of haven't really touched on tonight's game, and maybe you've got that on the agenda at some point, Russell. But there were stages of tonight's game where we played bloody good football, and we took it to them.
Yep.
And you're sitting here again dejected, and you're on the wrong end of a little bit of a hiding. But there was some good stuff played there, and it was good to watch. And do you know what? Part of you does feel a sense of pride that you've got a team of players and a manager that want to go out there and be brave and take on one of the European giants in their own backyard and try to take the game to them.
Well, this is it. There's a lot of the chat is lively, and keep it up because I love the debate. I love it. It's brilliant, and it's good to see all the different points of views. Some aspects, I agree with David Ferguson here. If we took the chances, we would top the group. I don't think that proves it works though when we finish bottom with 2 points in our worst ever Champions League campaign. Unfortunately, I remember saying this before, at the very start of the group. It's a league campaign at the end of the day. It is. It's just a very, very short one. And unfortunately, you've got to tosses for courses. If you're in a short term, you don't get time to bed into the tournament. You can be out in your fucking arse. And if we're only going to have automatic qualification one more year, if we go out in our arse in the same manner, and it's all the same hard luck stories again next year, fucking hell, we'll be back to 4 qualifiers again. So it's very tough to measure it. What I would also, Phil, say is, I believe very much when it comes to, if you say you want Celtic to spend, people say we can't afford to go bust. We don't want to go bust. Obviously, no one can afford to go bust. That was a stupid terminology. But you can't, it's like people just want to jump on the you'll go bust sort of bandwagon. It's like, fucking hell. There's no middle ground, no. And then when it comes to tactics and you say it might have been a wee bit fucking gung-ho, for example, if you want to say that might have been a wee bit ambitious, we'll call it the tactics. Instantly you get told, well, we wouldn't have got any results if we parked the bus. I think there's still ways around this, like that are different to being so binary, so black and white. It's not what anyone's campaigning for, is us to start being, Phil, park the bus team.
Nope,
and the second anyone wants that, the manager will be gone. That's not what we're asking for.
Nope.
Are we in a better place in Europe now than what we were after Bodo Glimt? There's a tricky question.
Well, the black and white of it is it's the same result in both ones. We're out of Europe after both of them. We're out of Europe after this. So if you want to look at it from that context, then we end up in the same spot. It's but in terms of like, suppose I say you look at the Europa campaign last season, the Champions League this year, and I say we scored plenty last year, just conceded a lot, and to this year we've conceded a lot and haven't balanced out with the goals, and it's I mean, I don't know. I'd say we're in a slightly better position because we were playing better teams than what we played last year, and we did take the game to them at times. There were moments where we were competing, but again, it's as if we ran out of steam in games as well. That's something we've talked about on here. That's probably the key as to why Ange pulls out the 3 substitutes as well at a certain point in the game, because we are running ourselves into the ground. And again, it's that thing domestically, you can get away with that, but at this level, when they do run themselves into the ground, that is when you get punished. We saw it with Shakhtar last week. We just tired out, and then that goal Madrid scored just ran right through us. Yeah. But I would say I'm leaning towards. I think it's the Gareth Bale of Shakhtar. He is. Right. But no, I'm leaning towards. I'd say we are in a slightly better place than we were. But I'd say the black and white, if you want to look at it just from that as well, in both cases, we're out with nothing. So, but in terms of like the style and that, I do see roots of progress there.
Good.
Would we beat Bodo over 2 legs now? if we played them?
I'm not sure.
I would say yes, because I think Bodo have sold a few of their players. That's the only thing I'm basing it on. I think Bodo sold a few of their star players, so I'll go on that basis alone. We seem to retain our squads. I'll just say we'll win it, but who knows?
Well, I think it's interesting to try and look at that in a, we want to be in a positive way, but we haven't won a game in Europe this year. So, would we get through that Bodo team? I'm not saying. I don't know if it was the same Bodo team we played. I don't know. I really don't know. And that's maybe my wee bit of my concerns. And maybe I'm miles off it, Terry. Let's talk about the team lineup, because that's getting a hell of a lot of attention in the comments. And we're always here to debate the passengers' points on the bus. We like all that. Terry, were your eyebrows raised at any inclusions tonight? Any omissions that were catching your eye?
I didn't expect Starfelt to play just simply because he's been out for so long. I thought that would be Welsh and Jens. Probably didn't expect Moy to play. Just thought we'd go for maybe a bit more legs in there, and not really. I mean, Jota's only back. It doesn't really surprise me what three he goes with up front, to be honest. No great surprises. Probably just surprised that Starfelt was thrown in there and that Moy started the game.
Okay, I'll go with the comments, Phil, and you can give me a yay or a nay. Have a bit of fun with it that way, right? So It looks to me like there was some inclusions that people are, as I say, they're maybe putting down to favouritism or out of form. Why is that? So we'll just go through it. Kyogo. Obviously, we know who it could have been instead. Kyogo got the nod at the weekend. We thought that was a nod to Giakoumakis getting the start for the game against Real Madrid, considering the joy he had against Militao, that first half, albeit Rudiger then did a bit of a number on him second half, but also maybe running out of puff there as well a wee bit. But that first half, he was very effective. Would you have went with Kyogo?
Right. In terms of the first question we asked Terry about would I be surprised? I wasn't surprised by anything in the lineup. Does that necessarily mean it's the lineup I would have picked? No. I would also give Giakoumakis a run out tonight because one, we were out of the competition anyway. So what would have been the harm in giving Giakoumakis a go? And as we said earlier on, he showed in the first leg against Edward Militao that he gave him a bit of a runaround, so much so that Carlo Ancelotti recognised that. And to go off, then you save Kyogo for the weekend because our bread and butter is now going to be the league. And Kyogo is clearly the number one striker at the team in the club, and so keep him for the weekend. Then how about tonight we'll play Giakoumakis? I don't think there'll be any harm in it. So I would have thrown Giakoumakis in there, and I think when he came on, he looked lively. It's just unfortunate again that he's been thrown on, go and warm up. Okay, go on now, 4-0 down. What's that at that point? Was that going to really achieve?
So
just
you would have
run out for the sake of it. I would have started Giakoumakis just on the basis we were out of Europe anyway, so why not?
Terry, Kyogo or Giakoumakis tonight, and your reason why?
Kyogo.
You would have went with Kyogo. Okay.
Well, I expected Ange to go with Kyogo.
That's what Phil was saying.
That's similar to
Who would I have gone with? You can argue either way. Kyogo for that little bit of extra movement, or Giakoumakis just for that Giakoumakis factor. It's a really hard one. It's a really hard one, and I can see why. Well, you can argue the manager doesn't struggle with it, but I can see if the manager struggles with that decision, because they both do bring something to the table and bring something completely different. But I made the point at the weekend. It's not as if one of them is a real drop off from the other one.
You're absolutely spot on it. And that's the thing. These debates, people take them personally because they're too invested. We're just going, which one would you have went with? Would you start in Maida? Jota got obviously 20 minutes, I think it was, at the weekend. I mean, if we're keeping players, bubble wrapped for the weekend, I mean, would you have went? I'll go back to Phil. Would you have started Maida? Do you think he was lucky to get a start? The reason I'm bringing that up, again, a lot of mentions in the comments section.
I would have started Haksabanovic. Jota, I would have just kept him because he only just back from an injury. And also, he
fair.
came on and scored a nice free kick. He's very, very pleased about it. I like how emotional he was about getting that consolation.
Good for the
So I'm
brand.
assuming it's a bucket list moment, and for most players it would be to score a goal like that at the Bernabeu.
Yeah.
But Maeda, no, I would have started Haksabanovic. I would have played him tonight. But I don't think it really would have made much of a difference, to be fair, the way the match turned out in the end. But I would have leaned towards that. Again, Haksabanovic needs a few more starts. We saw earlier on in the comments, people saying, Haksabanovic and Abelgard aren't really up to speed. Well, again, tonight, being technically that dead rubber, tonight could have been a chance to get them a good 70, 80 minutes under their belt. That could have been a good opportunity. So, and besides, Haksabanovic hasn't done much wrong in the games he does play.
No,
I know.
far from it. I mean, if it's a case of fitness, play in the first half. You look like half-time swap sometimes, Andrew. I think he would have been one of my options. Moyes getting in there, I mean, with a bit of default, I think, Terry. I think you're right. I think, with the injuries there, with Abelgard seeming miles away from it, could you have found a way not to have started him? And if so, who would you have brought in instead? Would it required a change of shape? I mean, the one thing we will say is, he offered nothing today again. I mean, he really did offer very, very little. I know he's an unglamorous player, and sometimes you get that where it looks like they're not doing much, but they're actually contributing quite effectively. But I've seen more effective mannequins when they were passing the ball around them. It's just, it's not there. There's got to be another option in that midfield. And Turnbull obviously has been getting a lot of action coming off the bench. And again, I think he fits the ethos as to what we're trying to do with this process stuff. Moyes seems like he's so left field for. I don't think he's part of the long-term 5-year plan that we keep talking about right now. And I don't think his football suits what we're trying to do. If we're going to be persistent, we're going to be, not calling it stubborn, but for want of a better word, I'll use it just now. If we're going to be like, we only play one way, I'm not quite sure then how Aaron Moy fits in there, unless he was the designated number 6, which again tonight was Matt O'Reilly. It's a strange one right now. Is he getting fitted in, Terry, into the team for, I don't know. I mean, there's obviously a lot of talk saying he's getting favourable treatment. I don't like conspiracy theories of that, but he has definitely been given, I think, up. He's been given one hell of a lot of chances in this side for someone who's not contributed all that much.
I'm surprised that Turnbull has struggled to get back into the side again, because whenever he was fit, he was a mainstay in Ange's team, and he was one who could have been regarded as one of Ange's favourites. And he's been pretty ruthless in terms of, his non-selection of David Turnbull. I trust the manager that he wouldn't be picking Aaron Moy for any reason other than he thinks it's to give Celtic the best chance of winning the game. If there's any reason other than that, then he shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be in his role. He obviously sees something in the player that, and do you know what? There have been glimpses of ability. There's been a couple of games recently where he has got into scoring positions. He has assisted goals. But is that worth the amount of time that he's getting on the pitch ahead of some other players? Probably not. But I don't really buy into any sort of speculation that he's trying to give Moy time to get fit for Australia for the World Cup or anything like that. Yeah.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. Ange's more qualified in these decision-making processes than we are. But to our eye, and that's all we can give is our opinion. I mean, I'm watching a guy who I think's in the wrong movie. I don't think he's a part of the future for Celtic. I don't think he fits the process in the present. I would rather see other players get game time or strengthen it again. Strengthen that situation. That's what we're probably going to keep going back to. And again, I mean, David Ferguson says he knows, Moy knows the end system better than anyone. He's doing a good way of hiding it. He's doing a good job of hiding it, mate, if I'm honest. However, that being said, the focus now, guys, goes back to domestic times, and it will all be about a treble. My worry is we completely, sometimes as a fan base, forget too easily about Europe when you're lording it over your rivals for what will be, if everything goes to plan, of course, for the next 7 months. It's a long time in football to have that feel-good effect and be winning games every week and potentially lifting trophies like the League Cup, then the League, then the Scottish Cup. And before you know it, you're sucked into that comfort zone area again where I really want, and I believe, Phil, so much that Postecoglou is wanting us to break that ceiling. I think he'll be quite deflated that he's not got European football any further, because I think that definitely, as I always say, tickles his balls. I mean, I do think that does. Phil, it's important we don't allow, despite the fact, obviously, we want the treble massively. Of course we do, and all focus is now on that, and let's get it done. It is important, though, that with hindsight, when we look back on the campaign, we don't just brush over 2 points in a Champions League campaign and we go, no, we need to focus. That's the area to focus on. Because like I say, I've seen Celtic win plenty more trebles in my life. I've seen us win loads of leagues, loads of League Cups, loads of Scottish Cups at various times as well, even if not part of a treble. But us doing well in the Champions League, I've not seen enough of that. And we've got a taste for it now. Postecoglou's got a taste for it, Phil. Let's not allow the next 7 months to kid on everyone in the team's all world beaters again. Because we're on the world stage. We've came up short now. Yes, let's get it done domestically. But come this summer, there has to be a European push. And the fans I really want to be on side with that as well. Being just a bit better than them got us nowhere from 2010 onwards. It got us fucking nowhere. And now we're playing catch up. But with this added benefit of 2 campaigns in a row with the league title winners going straight in at the Champions League.
Well, the mission is really simple from now to the end of the season. And I said this actually to Vegan and go on the Sunday Boiler there, where obviously these players like Juranovic, Jota, Abada, all these foreign players that we brought over, and just brought in, they bought into the club. See if they enjoyed their taste of the Champions League there. We'll see if you want it again. It's one thing you got to do this season. You've got to make sure we go and win that league now. So it's all guns blazing from now to the end of the season to make sure that we get that wrapped up as quickly as conveniently as possible. The cups are a bonus. I know you mentioned the treble, the T word, the treble. Now we like to talk about trebles on here. Me personally, if we win the treble, obviously fantastic. If we don't, I wouldn't lose any sleep over missing a Scottish Cup or a League Cup.
No.
Doesn't bother me. Last season we won the League Cup and the Scottish League, and that's more than fine for me as long as the league is in there, because it gets us our ticket in the Champions League. You know, the prize at the end of the season is not the big silver trophy that you get. The prize is the ticket to the big table. That's the important thing. So yeah, for these players from now to the end of the season, we've had a couple of games obviously recently after Champions League games where it seems like bit of the levels dropped. You know, you start to think, they getting a bit like, I really want the Champions League and playing a St Mirren and stuff. Does they really interest me? And it's like, well, if you want that Champions League back, you have to beat St Mirren, beat St Johnstone, and all these other teams got to get through them now. So that's what I want to see from the end of the season. I want us to go out there and do it with a bit of style and get that league wrapped up as quickly as possible. Well, every game is now like, I treat every league game like a cup final now. It's like, right, we know what's on the line now. You know what the prize is at the end of the season, boys. If you want it again, show us that you want it. Show us it.
Phil, on your brilliant show, Nostalgia, and it is a certain someone's month. If you want to do the sound effect, I've got the.
Okay, aye.
Right.
Oh, by the way, if you're listening through headphones, I apologise in advance for what's about to happen. You have been warned.
You were making a very good point about Martin O'Neill's team. Hey!
There you go. Apologies to anyone with the headphones. Their eardrums have just been bust.
But one of the things we were talking about recently, right? And very, you were talking about it on Friday's show, right? Really well. Don't piss off that team. Don't piss them off. And I would love. See, remember the 03-04 season that you covered, right?
Yep.
You were basically saying, because of the absolute devastated feeling the players had and losing the league title the last day, Seville, they came back and it was business that next league season, wasn't it? It was absolute business. The green and white wash, beat Rangers every single time. I would love to see Celtic's attitude now to be like that wounded animal, Phil, that you were describing on Nostalgia. This is how we should now be approaching it. Go, we're fucked off. We didn't show what we think we're capable of in the biggest stage of all, in the biggest club competition. We're going to show you, right, how much better we are though domestically. And the reason we are so pissed off, is because we know we're the best team in this country. Now it's time for business. Just like what that O'Neill side did in the 03-04 season. Does that make sense?
Aye, it does. I mean, that team went undefeated in the league up until the late April. Aberdeen came to Celtic Park and ruined everything. Could have done a unbeaten domestic season that year. Same year Arsenal did it in England as well. It would have been quite incredible. But yeah, that's how close we were. We got to the late April. Yeah, they came rolling back with a vengeance. Really did. And that's what I hope to see now from the end of the season domestically is, right, we're a wounded animal, but we will show that we belong there and we'll show why we're the best team. So hopefully that is the attitude from now to the end of the season. You know, hey, you want the Champions League back? Yeah, we all do. All us fans do. You know, we're all hurting from it. So, you know, let's get back there again. There's only one way we can achieve it. So, you know,
like one of the frustrating things then is that in a couple of weeks' time we're going to be breaking up for 4 weeks, and that you know any momentum that you're getting, any sort of reaction is then going to go on hold, and where you'll come back and it'll almost like coming back pre-season again and almost like starting afresh. I just hope. I mean, I fully expect us to be in at least as strong a position as we're in when we come back again. Wouldn't be surprised if we're in a stronger position, and then you're into the January window, and then you're starting to have conversations. Well, again, what are we starting to look at for next year?
Yeah, definitely. It is now time for business. As usual, Celtic, over to you. Let's get the players fully focused on what is now a crucial domestic campaign, particularly the league. We've explained the reasons why this evening. We also want on the off-field that strategy to be in full flow and not more fluff in the squad, not more padding. We're looking for bona fide players that can help us have a far better Champions League campaign next time round. A big thank you to Terry, Rob and Phil McGinley. This has been the Boise Bus and P.M.P. after our European exit. We will be back tomorrow for the TNF. If you've not caught up on the breakfast bar that we did this morning, I was joined by David Logue and Johnny Logue. 8:30 in the morning. It's no for me, but we did it anyway. All that good stuff. I'll just ask one more time. There's 233 of you watching. If you can give us a wee like, it helps you get more traction over YouTube overnight and stuff. If you want to become a subscriber, hit the wee bell and you'll get notifications every time we go live, which is basically every day these days. And if you want to become a Boise Bus member, there's an option to do that as well. Terry, Phil, a big thank you. That wasn't easy coming on the back of a defeat in a midweek game, but at least we weren't playing at 8 o'clock. It's only 9:30, Terry. Plenty of time for you to get to your bed.
That's one of those things. I just wondered, does anybody know why all 3 of our away games were 5:45 kickoffs? That doesn't happen to every team.
I know it's weird how we happened to draw that one, because I know they moved to one group every night to that time slot just to get more TV, but it was always a group every time.
Every away game.
Every away game, aye. That's got to be a first for us, isn't it? And
no,
has to be.
I don't know.
That's the reason. That's the reason we didn't get through, Boise. That's the reason we didn't get through.
Stop the clocks. Good night.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.